Northeastern Minnesota, known for many things. The iron ore on the Mesabi and Vermilion Range, the great pinery that built buildings all across America, and the birthplace of the Northern Pacific Railway. NP enthusiasts always come to the Lake Superior Railroad Museum at the St. Louis County Depot in Duluth to see the very first engine, the Minnetonka, #1, ever used in building the NP Railway when it started outside of Duluth at Carleton 150 years ago. How about this? One of the last engines ever purchased by the Northern Pacific Railway, also on display here at the Lake Superior Railroad Museum. Come on inside, I'll show you more. We're coming into the cab of one of the very last locomotives that the Northern Pacific Railway ever purchased. In 1967, they bought 30 of these. They are SD-45s, and they wanted to replace their aging first-generation diesel-electric locomotives because they didn't have as much power as this engine did. If you remember our episode on the SD-45 that the Great Northern purchased about the same time, the Hustle Muscle, you know that 3,600 horsepower under the hood, that makes a pretty good drag pulling power. So they got these big engines for their bigger and longer trains. And as I said, in 1967, they bought 30 of these. This may have been one of the very last ones to get the colors of the Northern Pacific Railway. In 1970, the merger came about. NP, GN, SP&S, CB&Q all became the Burlington Northern. And this engine made the transition. And it also made another transition in its life. Later on, after it was painted in BN colors, it was swapped off to the newly formed Wisconsin Central Railway and served there as well, until it was retired in 1994. But you know, these engines were a favorite of the owner of the railroad, Mr. Ed Burkhart, and he had this one restored. And in 2007, after it had been taken over by the Canadian National, the CN gifted this locomotive to the Lake Superior Railroad Museum. Over the years, we've made some improvements on the engine. Our good friends at the Northern Plains Railway out in Fordville, North Dakota, Greg Haug and Jesse Chalich out there, saw that the engine was painted back to its original NP livery, and boy did they do a good job. And then we got to thinking, well, you know, with a great paint job, an engine that is really very restorable, we might as well try it. And so for the last couple of years, a group of volunteers here at the Lake Superior Railroad Museum have been actively working to restore this locomotive, not as a static display, but as a working piece of history on our North Shore Scenic Railroad. Just think, 2 SD-45s back-to-back MU'd. Why, we could pull our little 6-passenger cars up and down the North Shore with ease. But having a working NP SD-45 would be very unique in the museum world. So I want to thank those volunteers that have given hundreds and hundreds of hours to try and get this running again. That bulky electronic system that I talked about, they found all the parts to restore it. Amazing work. And it all checked out. Our next job will be to see if we can get the prime mover to turn over and start and fire. We've already had the generator hooked up to it, so there's no reason why this engine can't run. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, there might be one reason. We could use some donations. Making an old historic piece of railroad history come back to life is not for the faint of pocketbook. We've had thousands and thousands of dollars donated. The Northern Pacific Railway Historical Society has been particularly generous, and we thank them for their support. You like diesel-electric engines from the past? Or you're an NP enthusiast? Why don't you go to powerup3617.com, powerup3617.com, and there you can make a donation to move this engine one step closer to being out on the main line doing what she was built to do. And we're doing what we're supposed to do during this time, bringing you these daily vignettes from the Lake Superior Railroad Museum. You do what you have to do too. If you're sick, stay home. Wash your hands a lot. Cover your mouth when you cough. Don't touch your face. Keep that social distance. And we're doing it. We're taking care of each other.